everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you all so much for being here. For anybody new here, hi, I am Maggie, your substitute teacher. Welcome to, I believe, episode 4 of our series, the Red Flag Review from the ReesaTeesa saga. So you all may know me from my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content. Lucy and I have founded the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, where we teach ladies of all ages how to be the best version of themselves with femininity, elegance, and etiquette. We have been reviewing the ReesaTeesa telenovela with permission, not to ridicule or make fun of anyone, but we want to learn some of the red flags that were missed so we can all improve our outcomes. Lucy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lucy, and I'm hoping that the sound is better. So I'm thinking, okay, so I was sharing with Maggie behind the scenes what was going on. The sound was being picked up by my headset, by my earpiece, and that's what it was. Sometimes I had no idea. It was like cracking and crickling, and it just didn't sound right. And I figured it out because I was having a Teams call at work, and they're saying it sounds weird. So we kind of like did some troubleshooting, and I think we figured it out. Anyway, I'm Lucy. I have a channel that used to teach Spanish, but now I've moved the content to be more about femininity, elegance, and issues for women over a certain age. So, but my friend Maggie and I, we have these weekly meetings just to talk about some situational things, things that are happening in social media and so forth. And today we're following again with the ReesaTeesa situation, event, and telenovela.
Absolutely. So come on in, sit back and relax. I'll quickly recap, then I'm going to share my screen and we will pick up where we left off. So if anybody is new here, and thank you, Trad Guy, thank you all for liking the live stream, whether you're watching with me or with Lucy. Okay, so ReesaTeesa is a woman who here in the Metro Atlanta area back in 2020, she met a man online dating, and within the course of a year, she dated him, moved in together, got pregnant, married him, divorced him, and she thought she knew who she married. And she made this TikTok series recounting all of the events because it turns out that she had no idea what she was getting herself into. So we have reviewed 4 of her episodes. We are going to pick up where we left off, and I'll play a little bit and then we'll pause. Lucy and I will give our take as 2 older women. This is what we do to give back. And then we love to hear what you all have to say. So hello everybody coming in. Let me see if I can struggle stream myself and pick up on episode, I believe it's 4 or 5. Let's see.
Okay, part 5. Who the fuck did I marry? So, I'm questioning all this stuff in my head out loud on my audio diaries. And then once again, I'm like, but look at what he's giving you. Like, he's paying, it wasn't a question about money. It was just a question of, are we really about to move into this house? And keep in mind, he's paying all the household bills. He still is. So, we were supposed to close before Memorial Day. We didn't. There was an excuse. There was always an excuse with him. Always an excuse. And I didn't know enough about the process to question stuff because I really wasn't involved the way I should have been. And it was giving me a lot of anxiety. So I'm pregnant with a lot of anxiety. And if I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all, I was not expecting that I was probably going to have a healthy pregnancy because I was stressed. And what I was stressed about is I didn't know what was going on because I wasn't really involved the way that a normal relationship would be involved. Just being honest. So we did not close around, we move now into June. This is now going into June. Around June 5th, I looked at the house again on Realtor.com. I don't know what made me do it other than, and I don't mean to sound super spiritual. I know that people are like, you know, you may or may not believe in God, but I'm telling you, I believe with all my heart, probably the Holy Spirit was like, look at that house on Realtor.com. So I looked at the house on Realtor.com. This was around June 5th. It showed that the house was off the market. And I remember being like, okay, wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because ex-husband is telling me we're about to close on the house. We're about to close. It's our house. We got furniture, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. He's also telling me that he's been in contact with the realtor, his friend, who was telling him, you know, this is what was happening next. Here's what's going on. So the guy that we initially worked with apparently is completely out of the picture. But again, I was not heavily involved. So
All right, so let's unpack this. And just to bring everybody up to speed, the reason that they moved in together within 2 weeks of meeting each other is because during 2020, when we had the pandemic, she said that she didn't want to quarantine alone. So she moved this man, basically a stranger, into her home. And he started promising her all of these lavish things. And you heard her say he was paying all of the bills. And we talked about this last time, ladies. When you get really enamored with, you know, shiny new things, it's really easy for someone to say, aha, that's all it takes to, you know, keep her doing the things that I like. He had promised her that he was going to buy her a home, took her house shopping, took her furniture shopping, took her appliance shopping. Now, mind you, he did not have a home on his own, and we talked about this last time. All of the talking, all of the bragging, masculine men are men of action. And if you want a traditional relationship, we need to let the man lead, and then we adjust to his lifestyle, or we don't. But where she found herself was getting out in front. I wanted this house. I wanted these appliances. I wanted this. And you heard her say, you know, well, I wasn't as involved as I needed to be. So those were some of the first takeaways that I have from this one. What would you add, Lucy?
I would also add that unfortunately, the man wasn't given enough credit for keeping up with the bills, with paying the bills. As all that chaos was happening, the man apparently was paying those bills that honestly, if you're not married to him, what are you doing allowing him to pay your bills? So again, that's kind of, it's a little strange. It fascinates me too how clearly, how eloquent she is explaining the situation while she's driving. I gotta tell you, I could never do that. I could never drive while I'm explaining that. That is a gift to have. But anyway, that's a tangent. I could never do that. So yes, it's amazing how unfortunately there are so many bad things happening that unfortunately she's allowing them to happen, but at the same time she's also allowing him to pay the bills. So she's got the bad and then she's got the good, and unfortunately it was such an unhealthy situation to begin with.
Yes, that is so true. I love this comment from Brea. I was literally out of the loop in our home buying process outside of picking the house, but I had a wedding ring, wisdom, and enough prior examples of my husband following through with his promises. And that pretty much sums it up, ladies. We're going to continue on here, but this whole relationship was out of order. And we've talked about this. If you online date, okay, that's fine, but you have to vet just as much as you're being vetted. And the reason she moved this man into her home, one red flag, is because she didn't want to be alone during the pandemic. That's not a good reason. Lucy and I have marriage experience. I've never lived with a man outside of marriage. You can do whatever you want to, but I would say 2 weeks is still too short to have the amount of judgment. And like Brea said, he hadn't demonstrated anything. It was just words and empty promises. So we will continue on. And a few things from last time. She knew something was wrong. She's keeping this relationship from her friends and family, and she starts making recordings about all of the things that just don't sit right with her, which is a flag in and of itself. But when she talks about her recordings, that's what that was. All right, let us continue. Oh, I will say this one thing about the driving. If you notice, TikTok put a disclaimer on the bottom of her video saying this activity could cause harm. I don't know, this new culture about people going to the car to tell their life story or to cry or what, I don't even get it, but let's see what other teachable moments we can find.
So I'm just like, let me look at the house. I see it's off market. What the fuck does off market mean? Like, now I'm really freaking out. So it shows the name of the real estate agent for the seller. I don't remember her name. I called her and I said, you know, excuse me, I said, my husband and I, even though I wasn't married, my husband and I were looking at this house at 123 Main Street, and we really wanted to tour it, but now I'm showing it's off market. Is it not available? Or, you know, I pulled that card, and she was like, oh, no, ma'am. The home closed yesterday. It closed June 4th. Again, there are certain dates I just remember. And I said, oh, it closed June 4th? I was like, really? And she said, yes, ma'am. She was like, my sellers sold the house. And I was like, oh, man, okay. Well, I said, my husband and I really wanted, you know, we love the pictures of it. And we're getting ready to start a family. So I would have loved to have been able to, have the opportunity to see it. I asked her something. I don't remember the specific question I asked her. And I know why I asked the question, because I was anticipating that my boyfriend at the time was going to have some sort of excuse. So I asked her something about the buyers. And I remember, and somehow, again, forgive me, I don't remember the question I asked her. But the answer was that it was an older white couple. Older white couple.
All right, we will unpack this. There is so much going on here, and I don't know if you all are realizing how deep this is getting. So, the man that she's living with, that she is not married to, that she is now pregnant by, she's calling him her husband. And because the things aren't moving in the home buying process the way she wants them to move, instead of talking to her boyfriend slash man slash wannabe husband, she calls the realtor. Shout out to Try Guy Travels. I saw that about, yes. I was told to check realtor.com. So instead of, hey babe, I'm confused about something, she knows in her gut that he's going to lie to her. So she starts doing her own reconnaissance. That is a huge red flag, ladies. If you cannot have an adult conversation, good times, bad times, then that is not husband material, because you are going to have life issues, health issues, finance issues, family issues. You have to be able to have sit down at the kitchen table conversations like, help me understand. She doesn't go to her man because she doesn't trust him. Another red flag. If you are with a man that you do not trust, why are you with him? So she calls the realtor to dig around to find out, oh, this house that I wanted is now off the market. Can you tell me who bought it? If I got to go through all this, we got enough problems. But they say it's an older white couple that purchased the house. Obviously, her and her boyfriend are not an older white couple. So she's getting information. And I just thought that that was fascinating. The amount of work, the amount of effort that we go through to keep up a facade, as opposed to doing the real work to be in a real relationship. We really have our priorities out of order. And again, this is for all of us to learn from. But what would you add, Lucy?
The fact that she was calling him husband, I think it was wishful thinking for her. I think deep down inside, she knew that there were so many things wrong. And to have the energy and the time to start going behind what he was doing to figure out who he was. I mean, if if you have a boyfriend and you start looking into his phone and looking at things behind his back, there's already things going on. And if you already have that instinct, that intuition, that should be something that should give you pause to say, maybe this is not the right relationship for me. I can't see myself being an investigator throughout the rest of my relationship time with this man. Why, from the beginning, wouldn't you say, you know what, this is taking too much of my energy? I'm done.
So true. And ladies, look, do what you want to. Lucy and I promote traditional relationships here. I love what you all are saying in the comments, but you're starting to see the red thread. And for whatever reason, once you start with the lie, you know how they used to say, you got to keep up that lie. Lisa says she's calling him husband because she's embarrassed. She knows better. I mean, she's invoking the Lord and the church and different things. And I'm not judging, but it's like, you know what's morally right or wrong. You're doing what you want to anyway. Brea says, why are you with him and having his baby? Exactly. The number one thing, and ladies, our female nature is we want trust, we want security. That's very important to us. So if you're having to fake that, if you're having to feign that, if you're having to lie and giving him a title that he has not earned, and there's nothing wrong with having a boyfriend, but just say what it is. But yes, it's already a problem. Next level is saying she's not a wife. We talked about this last time. This also shows that the caliber of men, do I want to say what was said? The caliber of men that she has dated have not prepared her for the discernment that is required for a real marriage and long term. Because you would not have gotten to this point, and I believe she's over 35, acting this way if you had been with real men that were on their purpose. So let us continue and see what else she gets into.
So I get off the phone with her. I record an audio diary, and in the audio diary, I specifically say, okay, there is no house. He's going to have to get out of this lie somehow. Because now I realize, at the very least, he was lying about him being the one who was under contract. I knew enough about that. So I was like, what, how was he going to get out of this? Again, I've listened to the audio diary in 2024. I literally said in that audio diary, how is he going to get out of this lie? And I was trying to think of ways on how he's going to do it. And something said to me, because I say it on the audio diary, I said, he's going to say it's a bad deal. And he's going to say he wants to pull out. Y'all keep in mind, I am pregnant. So I had a decision to make. As ugly as this decision was, I made the decision, you're about to have a baby with this man. He's paying all the household bills. Let him get out of the lie. And that's what I did. I purposely made the decision that I knew he was going to come back, and I knew he was going to give me some bullshit on why he couldn't buy the house, because he didn't know that I knew that house is already sold. The house is already sold. And this is the part where I said, I'm gonna be honest, even though it's gonna make me look bad, because most women in their right mind would have been like, I'm out, and I didn't. So, sure enough, he came home. He didn't really say anything that day. The next day, I asked him about the house, and he said, my friend, the realtor, he was like, I'm talking to him because something's going on with the interest rate. And when he said that, I felt so much relief, because I knew that I had been prepared for, he's going to give you some bullshit. So
All right, we're going to unpack this. Y'all, I have watched this whole series, but honestly, even going back through it, and I don't like to use the word trauma, but it is difficult to see and watch this, but we're going to unpack and learn from this. So many things there. So she's already recording little voice memos because she doesn't trust the man that she's with. She's making up labels and basically lying to the realtor. Oh yeah, we're really interested in that house, my husband. And she's getting her information so that when he confirms the lie to her, she's ready. This is a huge waste of not only time, but the emotional investment. Ladies, I know we talk a lot about the damage that comes from, men talk about the high body count and all of that, but I would offer that all of these bad relationships are also damage, because it is 2024. This happened to her in 2020. She's reliving the story with this much detail in this current year. And she said, I went back and listened to that voice memo. And yes, I heard myself say these things. You are now stuck in this period of life. And this is what happens when you see all of the red flags and the warning signs, but you don't heed them. You waste your own time, and then she's got to do so much more healing if she ever wanted to date again. When a relationship ends and you know that this is not moving forward, you exit with grace, you learn from it, and you move on. um I'm sorry, Lucy, what would you add? I'm a little passionate about this one.
It's it's hard to believe that a woman in her natural mental state, a healthy mental state, would take on that time to create this catalog of red flags when a person that is ready to have a relationship would see the first flag, second, third flag, and would say, you know what? I think we're good at this time. I am not my stress level with this person. I cannot handle it. I can't imagine being 5 years next to a man that gives me so much stress. So again, it's to me, and I know that it was not intentional. It seems like it's a setup. She's setting him up for failure, unfortunately, because she started seeing all of these bad things, and she chose to continue playing that bad game, but with receipts to tell the a story. So again, it's a little weird. I like ReesaTeesa. I'm sure that she's now living a good life, but the intentions to me are really strange, because a normal, healthy mental person would never take on the responsibility of having to keep receipts for a man that really he's nothing to you. He still hasn't asked you to marry. So again, you know, you got into a situation where now you're having a man's baby without that commitment, and now you're adding up those receipts to later on use them how?
So true. All right. So we will wrap up this one. But yeah, such a good point on that, Lucy. And hopefully you all are seeing, and again, this is not to put anybody down, but you see that now that she has the level of shame and embarrassment, and now she's pregnant, it fuels the bad behavior. When you slow down and you do things in order, you're able to make informed decisions. But now, her hormones are raging. She's just like, we got to get this house. And she makes a lot of bad decisions and misses a lot of red flags. But let us continue.
So when he said there's something with the interest rate, I said, you know what? If this is literally what I said, y'all. If the interest rate isn't good, then we shouldn't move there. We should probably let this house go. We should cancel whatever furniture we ordered, or appliances, and let's just look for another house. I said I would like to be moved before the end of the year. I said I really don't want to be 9 months pregnant moving into a house. I would like to be done with this before then. And the way I said it was so calm, and he was like, okay. He was like, I'm gonna call the realtor, and tell him I'm backing out of the house, and I'm gonna see if I can get my earnest money back. And I remember looking at him. I was standing in the kitchen, and I cocked my head to the side, and I said, okay, get your earnest money back, and let's find another house. And so that's how that first house fell through. So, fast forward, I keep looking at this to see how much time I have, because they only give you 10 minutes. So this is part 5, part 6 is coming up. But subsequently, what ends up happening the next week, which is mid-June, I was at work, and I started cramping, started bleeding. And at this point, my doctor, I had just had an ultrasound earlier that day. So I went to work, because the ultrasound was fine. I went to work, and the cramping and the bleeding started, and I started crying because I kind of knew what was going on. And my doctor had called me and told me that when they did the ultrasound, they did not see a heartbeat. So she was like, this pregnancy is not going to be viable. So I'm crying and hysterical. And now we're going to get into part 6.
Oh, my goodness. Y'all, when a woman has a child or is trying to have a child, we are at our most vulnerable that we could ever be. Women used to die in childbirth. And for her to be in this amount of stress, and I don't know what happened. I cannot imagine, and I'm so sorry that happened to her. But everything that led up to that point, that she was just trying to force this. If you remember, we talked about this last time. You heard her say, I would like to be moved by this time. I would like to be in the house. What's going on with the house? It was just solely her view, as opposed to allowing the man that you chose to lead sitting back and observing. Is he creating the type of home where I can be safe? Is he doing the type of things consistently where I can feel protected and trust him? Instead, she just blew past all of that. So now she's starting to have difficulty with the pregnancy, and we will continue on. What would you add, Lucy?
Yeah, that is a terrible thing that happened to her. And I can relate to that terrible feeling because I had several, and my reproductive system was completely shut down since very early on. So I can just imagine that feeling of just pure dread as she was having to deal with all that stuff outside. So, again, um, your body going through such hormonal, fluctuation up and down, adding that amount of stress, of course, is going to create a non viable pregnancy. And in a way, I remember talking to my mom, about the pregnancies that I had while I was previously married on my first marriage. My mom says, you know what? God has a way of telling you that that baby is not ready for uh, for that life. So in a way, it was a blessing that came to her. Of course, it's a painful blessing, but she would have seen herself with a child, with a man that obviously didn't, you know, I'm not sure what was going on with him. But again, she would have been alone dealing with all that chaos with a newborn child.
Thank you for saying that, Lucy. And I just, again, my heart breaks just as a woman, as a mother, but I agree with you. And, whether people like Oprah Winfrey or not, if you have read or known her story, she got pregnant very young as well. I think she was 14. I don't know how it happened, but the baby did not survive. And she talks about in her biography that her father basically had that conversation with her. You have a second chance to do things right. And she took that tragic experience and became, successful in her own right. So, all that being said, we'll continue on to the next episode. She's starting to have issues with the pregnancy. And like Lucy said, and I agree, if there wasn't a reason before to now say, okay, you know what, I'm doing too much, this is not healthy, let's see how she handles it.
Okay, part 5. Okay, so this is part 6 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? So, where we left off. So, obviously, my doctor had called and told me there was no heartbeat, the pregnancy was not viable at that point, and I was cramping and spotting at work. Went into my best friend's office and immediately started crying. She was like, "What's going on?" And I said, I told her what the doctor said. And she grabbed her keys, grabbed her purse, and was like, "Let's go. I'm taking you home." On my way home, I called my boyfriend and told him what the doctor said. And he was like, "I'll meet you at home." So he was coming from Duluth, went straight home. And so about 24, 48 hours later, I had a doctor's appointment. And my doctor gave me 3 options. First option, let everything happen naturally. Your body will expel the fetus on its own. Second option, you can take a pill which will induce expelling the fetus at home. The pill basically will cause you to contract and expel. The third option was to go into the hospital and do a D&C. I did not want to do a D&C because I did not want to be in a hospital with COVID going on. And for whatever reason, I did not do the option of let it happen naturally. So I chose to do the pill. His birthday was June 17th. My ex's birthday was June 17th. So the decision was made, we're going to celebrate his birthday that day, go out to eat. And then that night I would take the pill because we both were off from work the next 2 days, next 2 or 3 days. So went out to eat, to try to celebrate as best we could, and then took the pill that night. That night was the most traumatic, excruciating pain I've ever put my body through. I do not recommend any woman, if prayerfully you don't have to go through that, but I don't recommend taking that pill. If you don't have to, don't do it. I spent the whole night in the bathroom just crying in so much pain. I couldn't take, they gave me a narcotic. I couldn't take it because I found out I was allergic to it. So it was causing me to like projectile vomiting. It was a mess. So, and he was right there. You know, he was scared that he needed to take me to the ER. But in the morning, the pain kind of subsided. So about 72 hours later, I had another doctor's appointment where the purpose of this appointment was to do an ultrasound to see if everything had passed. Everything did not pass. So because of that, my doctor was like, we're going to have to do a DNC. My DNC was scheduled for the first week of July. My boyfriend, my ex, was going to take me. That was always the plan. 2 days before my procedure, he comes home and tells me that he is up for a promotion. He's up to be promoted to VP. Because of this, the president of the company, excuse me, is coming in, and it was going to be this huge business meeting he had to go to. The business meeting was scheduled for the day of my surgery. And so I'm throwing a fit because I was like, there's no way you can do that meeting. Like, I need you to take me to the hospital and all this other stuff. And so he offered to have his sister take me to the hospital. Apparently his sister lived in Douglasville. I was like, no, because I've never met her. Like, I'm not having a stranger take me to the hospital. No, this is a private situation. I don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. So,
All right. This is a tough one. So we'll unpack this part and then do the last few moments. Again, my condolences. I cannot even imagine. Thank God I've been pregnant twice and have had two children, but I know a lot of women unfortunately struggle in this area. The teachable moment and the takeaway for me is this man has already given her so many reasons, so many red flags, so many reasons to have exited, but here we are. Now, to his credit, she said when she took that pill and she was going through that experience, he was right there with her. But I guess as a part two, she had to have some type of surgery to make sure everything was done. And he says that he's being promoted at work, and so he's not going to be able to take her to the hospital. Ladies, again, so many red flags, but here we are. My man is actually a VP for a very large company. It doesn't happen just like that. When you're on the executive track, you're being groomed for a long time, and no company in their right mind, when you have a family emergency, is going to insist that you come take a meeting. You're not even going to be in the right state of mind to do anything for whatever your work is. And the fact that he's kind of handing her off to his sister, whom she has never met, when she's planning for surgery for, like a major, I'm assuming it's some type of, major surgery. Um, it didn't have to even get this far, but people are who they are, and they're not going to be consistent in one area and then unreliable in another area. And I think he had given her multiple reasons, but unfortunately, this is where we are. What would you add, Lucy?
I also think that it seems to me that he had the mind of a child because if you look at what he did when he found out that she was having that miscarriage, he wanted to go do something to make things happen better. They went to celebrate his birthday. She said, yeah, let's go ahead and go celebrate the birthday. I mean, I can tell you that in my miscarriages, I wanted to do nothing. I wanted to be in bed and I don't want to hear, see anything because I'm kind of in mourning. I don't want to have any type of fun, but I'm thinking maybe he thought about the VP thing to kind of like take her away, her mind from the pain and all that was happening. Again, it's a child's way of thinking. I don't know. I'm just giving the guy some kind of benefit for doing the things that he was doing. Does she deserve it? No. Should she have been able to say, the red flags tap on the fifth one and I'm done? Yes. But she chose to continue playing a game that unfortunately didn't end up well.
That's true. And I see your comments. You see what happens when we rush. And ladies, also, having children, if you believe in traditional relationships, that is really the honor of the life that we can give, that we have, that we can give to our husband. Um, but her rushing through this, now she's in a situation with a man that she needs to be there for her when she's at her most vulnerable. So again, ladies, just like Trad Guy Travels was saying, I want this, I want that. Be very careful when you get out in front, because you'll find yourself alone and you're going to be looking to your left and to your right for someone to come rescue you. But it's so much better if you wait until you have that protection, until you have that covering. And if she had taken the time, she probably would have known his real sister, mother-in-law. This is why the family unit and the community, it's so important. But when you just rush off and make things happen in secret, again, she doesn't deserve this, but this is where we are. Yes, and thank you, Lucy, so much for sharing. I think, I know this is helping somebody. All right, let us finish this episode and then we'll wrap it up.
So my aunt had offered to take me, and then my friend who took me home from work had offered to take me. So at that point, we get into an argument because he's like, my sister is, you about your family, so why can't she step in? And I was like, nah, because I don't know her. Period. I don't know her. So my friend offers to take me to the hospital because I was all distressed that he's saying he has a business meeting and he can't take me. So I remember being on I-75 on the connector on the phone with her crying because I was so embarrassed that he wasn't going to be the one to take me and that I was needing to rely on someone else to take me to the hospital in order to get a D&C done. And she was really great. She was like, girl, this is why you have a village. Like, it's okay. Things happen. The world is crazy right now. I will take you. You're going to be okay. So he did not take me to the hospital for my D&C. My friend did. She could not stay because of COVID protocol. So when they wheeled me into pre-op after I got checked in, I texted him and was just letting him know, hey, here's the update. I'm about to, I'm in pre-op. They're going to get me prepared to go back to the surgical ward or whatever. And the response I got was from his new executive assistant named David. Now, when he told me he was up for the promotion, he did tell me that part of getting this new job would be that he would get an executive assistant named David. And he did tell me, I'm going to make sure that I inform David, if you get a text from this number, meaning from me, pull me out of the meeting because, my fiance's having a procedure done and I'm picking her up. So it's important that you come get me if it's something serious. So I text him. David responds. He said, yeah, Mr. Blah Blah told me that you are having a procedure done. If you need me to get him, I can go get him. He's in a meeting. Just let me know what you need. And I just said, no, don't bother him. I'm just giving an update that they're about to take me back. And David responds and says, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. So I have the procedure. I wake up and I am now in recovery. I should be in recovery 45 minutes up to an hour and a half. I wake up, first thing I ask, and I remember asking, is where is so-and-so? The nurse, who was so sweet, she was like, everything went well. You're doing great. She said, we spoke to your fiance. He's on his way. So I said, okay, okay. I kind of dozed back out, but I could still hear everything that was going on. I just could not keep my eyes open to save my life. So I hear her talk to the other nurse. And that's when she said, yeah, Dr. So and so called her fiance, and his executive assistant picked up. And the executive assistant said that he was in a business meeting, and that, you could relate to him what you need to say, and he'll tell the fiance. And my doctor was like, hell no, HIPAA. I need to speak to him. So apparently, my fiance called the doctor back about 30 minutes later, and the doctor informed him she'll be ready to be discharged in about an hour. You can make your way and come pick her up. He said he was on his way. He was on his way from Duluth to Atlanta, which is not a huge distance, but the time of day, one thing about Atlanta, there's always traffic. So he should have been there within the hour. I should have only been in recovery an hour and a half. Let's go to the next part.
All right, everyone. So we will recap this one and wind it up. I will just say this, ladies. When a man loves you, when a man is concerned for you, when a man has covered you, there is no way in the world that he can take a meeting and have his assistant tend to you while you are in surgery, um, suffering after having suffered a miscarriage. Another huge red flag. I remember I waited long to get my wisdom teeth taken out, and my man was there, brought me home, the medicines, waited, everything. Another huge red flag, but it just goes to show she didn't know this man well that she picked, and now she's at her most vulnerable, and he is not there for her. And she's having to go through this experience alone, waking up from being unconscious, and nobody's there with you. It's just heartbreaking. What would you add, Lucy?
It is, and in an organization, a company that is that big, where he's the VP, you don't think that there's going to be other executives there to be able to cover in that meeting? Again, that's very strange. And I missed the part of when he asked her to be the wife. Why is he
Why is
now the
now the
fiance?
fiance?
How did that come up? I'm missing. How did it all of a sudden he become his fiance? Was it just because the hospital thing? I'm I I lost it there, the connection. I'm not sure where that all is happening.
There is no connection. Have you all noticed how we go from boyfriend and girlfriend to husband when she's talking to the realtor? He calls her, or somebody calls her. I'm not going to spoil this if you all have not watched this whole series, but this David character that is relaying information back and forth calls her the fiance. You have not missed anything. There has not been an engagement. There's been a meeting on a dating site, a couple weeks of dating, a moving in together, and now a pregnancy, and all of the home buying attempts. So, no. And it just goes to show again, notice how both her and the man are kind of playing this same like make believe story. I think that is very I want to say dangerous because men take marriage really seriously, and I don't think that they would like you would say, a normal, healthy man would just toss that around. But obviously, they know the situation that they're in is all out of order, and so they're just trying to cover it up in mixed company, if you asked me. So you didn't miss the proposal. The proposal is coming, but let's see what you all say, and then we will wrap up. Erin Laura says we're missing a lot here. Yeah, she's recounting the story as it happened. What other red flags did you all see? What other holes are missing? Let's see. Yeah, we're missing a lot. Aaron Laura thinks she's omitting some things in the story that she doesn't want to say. I've listened all the way to the end. There will be a proposal in future episodes. Cognizant says that her EQ, which is emotional quotient, um, her person EQ personality is low. She suffered a loss. She needs therapy. Um, I would agree, and not from I'm not a professional in that kind of sense, and we don't diagnose here. I firmly believe either a woman is what has wife characteristics or she doesn't. A man has husband characteristics or he doesn't. If you're dating for marriage or long term, um, but it makes me very sad that, again, this is 4 years past the fact. And if you all have seen any of her other interviews, yes, she's getting a lot of press and she's traveling and, I think been signed by a talent agency or whatever. But she says she hasn't dated since. She is really traumatized by what happened, and obviously, but a lot of it she did bring on herself, and that's so hard to say. But ladies, it's true. We've got to make better decisions when it comes to who we're going to hitch our wagon to for life. Because, like Lisa said here, when she was going through a miscarriage, he couldn't bother to be there for her for a work meeting, and that is or was your child. How can I'm just thinking, how could I expect to trust that you would be there for me through the next tragedy? That's just so sad. Kaya says, is he really a VP at his company? I know the answer. I wanted to unfold unless you all want me to tell you, but what would you add, Lucy?
It's really interesting. I mean, this whole thing, I know that with the previous relationship that I had, my 11-year-old marriage, I can't even recall the bad times that I had with them during 11 years. So it's really interesting how she remembers a lot of the detail of those negative instances to then share them with the world. It's really, I don't know, as a lady, as an elegant woman, you want to keep that private life away from the world because again, that is nobody else's business to share. Uh, we feminine women are not looking for anybody's validation. The only validation that we care for is if we're not married, our parents, our family members. If we're married, is our husbands. So again, it's really, I thank her for sharing the information, but it's very hard to relate to the entire situation because a healthy, mature woman would never share those private moments with the world.
So true. So, ladies, the red thread that hopefully we're all seeing here, there were so many moments upstream where she got that, I don't think this is really um, the type of marriage that I want to be in for the next 50 years, where she could have exited with grace. We all have, relationships or divorces that didn't, last, and that's fine. The key is to learn from that. What could you do better? And then apply that to your next relationship, hopefully your final relationship. What makes me really sad is, again, this happened in 2020, and I am thankful that she did share. I'm shocked that she shared, but it's out here now, so we will learn from it. But I remember when Kevin Samuels used to say, and Lucy and I have a connection to Kevin Samuels, how a lot of women were like emotionally stuck in adolescence, or they hadn't matured. And for this to be like a mid 30-year-old woman, to Lucy's point, to be able to recount everything that happened in such detail means that she's still there in her mind. And we get the benefit, if you would, of hearing it to learn from it. But any man that really wanted to get to know her and have a conversation 4 years has passed, but she's still there. So, ladies, that's what I want, especially young ladies. I want you all to realize the decisions that you make in mating and dating. I would argue that you shouldn't date anybody or be in a relationship with anybody that doesn't make you better for it. Even if the relationship doesn't go towards marriage, at least you are with the caliber of man that you could see is husband material. That way you have those life lessons, you have that experience, and then you have that judgment. The next one you're like, oh yeah, no, you're not a man of your word. Thank you, but no thank you. And you can exit. You don't have to explain to anyone, but you want to make sure, because obviously she wanted marriage and family, and it's not happening for her. Let's see what you all are saying. Yes, I hope this can help others as well. Thank you all so much for the support. Lucy and I do this once a week. It's our Wild Card Wednesday. We have courses and coaching behind the scenes. If you're interested in any of that, you can go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. We're getting ready for our finishing school graduation. We've got the Maggie Lou meetup coming up. Tickets are still available if you want to join us here in Atlanta at Eclipse de Luna. We're going to have tapas and drinks, eat, drink, and be merry as we kick off our graduation weekend for our graduates. We are so proud of these ladies who have committed to be the best version of themselves. So yes, we should be good for next week, and we will pick up where we left off. Anything to close us out, Lucy?
Oh my goodness, it's getting closer. I'm so excited. I talked to my husband about it. It's like, I'm going to go see Maggie. We're gonna finally meet in person. So this is gonna be so much fun, and I am just hoping to have such a good time. I know that created, you've taken so much time to make this event so joyful and enjoyable, and with these beautiful ladies, how we're gonna have that graduation session is just gonna be amazing.
Thank you. I know I blew past the en Espanol comments. Was there anything that we needed to respond to, Lucy?
No, he's saying that she's mature physically but not mentally.
Absolutely. So thank you all for your support. We will see you all next week. Again, you can get your tickets. Go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. If you're interested, you can join the wait list for the next finishing school session, which will be in the fall. And then also this summer, we will be teaching the kids if you want your young boys or girls to learn etiquette and elegance with me and Lucy, then you can sign them up for the etiquette summer school, which will be in July. Lots of good stuff coming. We appreciate you all so much, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it, and hopefully it was helpful. We will see you all back next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the next few episodes in this saga of Who the Freak Did She Marry? Until then, everyone, we're going to go ahead and dismiss.
Adios.